Greetings from Washington, D.C. This is Congressman Bruce Westerman with your weekly update. It's Thursday morning. In a short amount of time, I'll be heading over to the House floor to vote on the impeachment inquiry. So to give you a little bit of background, what kind of a crazy week it's been in Washington, D.C., other than the Washington Nationals winning the World Series last night. I was actually doing work this week on policy, trying to look at ways we can make the country better. Was even at the White House with President Trump, with a group of members. We were discussing things like health care, trade policy. We were talking about immigration. We were talking about, what needs to be done in our country to keep things going, like the highest median income that we've seen, the tremendous growth in median income, the strong economy, the low unemployment rates. We were talking about issues like health care that need to be addressed. During the middle of all this is when the word came out that Nancy Pelosi had finally filed the resolution on the impeachment inquiry, and of course, a conversation that was originally directed towards policy and doing good things for the country once again got caught up in this issue that's just sucking the oxygen out of Washington, D.C. So what is it I'll be going to vote on the floor here shortly? The impeachment inquiry. Here it is. If you haven't seen it, it's a relatively short document. And I went through and highlighted some of the language in it. And on the first page, it talks about the committees that will have jurisdiction, and it says they are directed to continue their ongoing investigations as part of the existing House of Representatives inquiry into whether sufficient grounds exist for the House of Representatives to exercise its constitutional power to impeach Donald John Trump, President of the United States. 37 days after Speaker Pelosi decided to make her own rules up and start an impeachment inquiry, she finally realized that this was being done behind closed doors. There was no process that was being followed. They were making up the rules as they go. So now they have this resolution that we're supposed to vote on the House floor to go ahead and rubber stamp what they've been doing all along. And does this set up fair rules? No, it's not fair rules. It's just playing by the same rules that they've already had going, and it doesn't allow a fair trial. It doesn't allow the fair collection of data. It talks to that. Over here on page 4, it says the ranking minority member of the Permanent Select Committee is authorized, get this clause, with the concurrence of the chair, to subpoena or otherwise bring people in to testify, the production of books, records, correspondence, memoranda, papers, and documents, and by interrogatory, the furnishing of information. This is something that should be important, that the minority, the Republicans on the committee, can bring witnesses in, can subpoena information, but they said with the concurrence of the chair. So it goes back to Adam Schiff. Mr. Chairman Schiff, we would like to subpoena someone. We would like this information. What happens if Adam Schiff says no? Well, it says in the case that the chair declines to concur in a proposed action, then the ranking minority member can have the right to refer to the committee for decision the question. What that basically means is if the chairman denies the minority member subpoena power, then the committee can vote on whether the minority member can subpoena someone or some information, which basically means the majority is going to vote it down, and they're not going to let Republicans bring witnesses into the committee. These are still closed-door hearings. It talks about information from the committee. It says the chair, here you go again, Adam Schiff, shall transmit such report and appendices along with any supplemental, minority, additional, or dissenting views filed pursuant to Clause 2.1 of Rule 11, blah, blah, blah. Adam Schiff can make what information public he wants to make public. And again, he can continue doing what he's doing and leaking whatever information he wants to leak to the press. But where do I play in this? I'm not on one of these committees that are outlined in the impeachment inquiry. So that means I still don't have access to the information other than like what was said the other day. If Republicans want to know what's happening in the impeachment inquiry, if Republicans who aren't on the committee want to know, they can read it in the Washington Post. Well, guess what? I don't think you elected me to come to Washington, D.C. to read the Washington Post to find out what I'm supposed to find out on something as important as a vote of impeachment. So who's being disenfranchised in this? I mean, it aggravates me as one of 435 members to be excluded from the conversation, but you're the ones that's being excluded. We live in a representative democracy where we have a republic, where I'm elected to come here and be your voice in this august body. But if I don't have the information, it's not just me that's being cut out, it's you that's being cut out. It's all the other members who aren't on the committee of jurisdiction here who don't have access to the information. So it's a large swath of the American public who's kept in the dark. I said it the other day, this hearing is like, they're treating us like mushrooms. And you know how you grow mushrooms? You keep them in the dark and you feed them manure. And that's what it feels like as your representative here trying to find out what's going on and understand the process. So I'm voting against this resolution, and it's going to be more of the same. You know, we started this conversation about what can we do to help America? What can we do to get policies in place that are good for this country? What can we do to get something like the USMCA passed that will be good for our farmers? You know, President Trump was telling us about the agreement he's doing with China that's going to greatly increase the amount of U.S. ag exports. Billions of dollars more than we've ever done in the past at the peak on ag exports. All of that's getting left behind in these discussions. Nobody's talking about what the Democratic presidential candidate's platform is for the next election, because quite frankly, if I had a platform like that, I wouldn't want to talk about it either. I would want a diversion out there. We've got a strong economy, low unemployment, we've got opportunity to do better, but we continue to want to run this investigation in these committees and cut the American people out of the conversation. So hopefully someday I'll have better news to report from Washington, D.C., but for this week, hang on and we'll see where we go.